And welcome back to the Business Breakfast. It's time now to talk awards because last night there were the Banker Middle East Awards, and in the studio to discuss that and tell us what happened and why, Adam Broom, Chief Operating Officer, CPI Financial, and also Robin Amlo, Managing Editor of CPI Financial. Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in the morning after. I guess that you'd probably rather not be here, but thanks anyway for making the effort, if I'm guessing correctly. Now, there were 45 winners of the Banker Middle East Industry Awards at a gala dinner at the Ritz-Carlton at DIFC. And you've come in to talk about the significance of the awards, because you're both obviously very heavily involved in that. But why yet another set of awards in what is an awards-heavy city?
Well, I think we've been doing these awards now for 11 years, so it's certainly not a new thing for us, but I agree that there certainly is far too many awards across industries in the Middle East, not just the banking and finance sector. And it's why we tried to address our methodology this year to add more transparency and more rigour to the event, so that award winners could walk away with a clear methodology that really did explain why exactly the industry felt that they were the best performing institutions in the region, which certainly I think sets these awards apart.
Does that suggest that there wasn't very much transparency or rigour in the previous awards?
I think awards in general in the region have confused methodologies, and it's very difficult to actually understand why winners have been selected.
Sometimes I go to awards ceremony and you find that sort of the platinum sponsors, the gold sponsors, sort of silver sponsors all seem to be the ones that are actually winning the awards, and I don't know whether that's just coincidence or what.
Definitely, and it's one of the things that we're very conscious of. So in terms of sponsorship, we never allow financial institutions themselves to actually sponsor the event.
So how did you do that? How did you apply greater rigour?
I think what we need to explain to people is why it matters, first of all, and it matters not just to us and to the credibility of our awards and our magazines. It matters to us, to the institutions, and to people who look at institutions that win awards and think, does this mean this is a better bank, this is a better law firm, or whatever? And it should mean that. It should mean that this is an institution that's worthy of something, that's doing something right, that's doing something well. And to be able to do that, we've worked, as Adam was saying, quite hard to get awards that do this. And even up to the point where we introduced the new system we used this year, we pushed quite hard to try and explain to people that this is a transparent process, this is an easily understandable process, this is not happening. You as an institution are not winning an award because you managed to book 12 advertisements in the magazine. That's not how we give out awards. And in fact, we don't have to name names, but I do know there was one instance here where Adam was approached by one bank and said, our chief executive would really like to win this particular award. How much is it going to cost? And your answer was?
We don't work like that, so it's a priceless award.
So how did you do that? Did you actually sort of concentrate on the financials? I mean, banking is certainly one area where you can measure on output and figures. How did you take away the subjectives?
Well, absolutely. We focus specifically on a set of easily measurable financial targets. Key performance indicators, and we didn't have to choose very many, so we picked 5 measures: total assets, total liabilities, total income, net attributable income, and return on total assets. We didn't choose return on equity, and the reason we didn't choose return on equity is that not all the institutions in our universe, in the banking universe, are actually quoted on stock exchanges. Quite a lot of them are private, and in fact some of the biggest banks in this region are private institutions. They're not quoted institutions, so we had to leave return on equity out. We take those 5 measures, we compare them year against year, so 2010 performance against 2009, look at the absolute size of those indicators, look at the change in the size of those indicators in dollar terms, and look at the percentage change.
So did you give a weighting for size? Did you? So for instance, like the small niche boutique banks, which are obviously easier to manage, rather than sort of running a multinational, did you actually sort of give a weighting for the size of the bank?
No, as a matter of fact we didn't, and it's and I'd actually disagree with you that running a small bank is easier than running a big bank.
I think to do
there
it
are different
consistently,
problems.
Yeah.
There are different problems involved, and if you take all those measures, you actually even out comparing the big to the small. I should point out that the way the universe worked is we only looked at 8 countries. But having said that, the 8 countries we looked at really are the meat of the banking and finance industry in the Middle East and North Africa. The 8 countries in question being the GCC 6, plus Jordan and Lebanon. The only other major banking market in the Middle East is Egypt. And given what happened this year to Egypt and the Egyptian economy, we've left them out of our calculations for this year.
Okay, well we've only got about 3 or 4 minutes, so let's actually run through some of the awards, shall we? Because the best bank in the Middle East and the banker of the year both came from the same institution. So who won that, which I guess is probably the Blue Ribbon award? Adam.
Well, the best bank in the Middle East went to Qatar National Bank. And they managed to achieve absolutely phenomenal growth. And I think this is what we were trying to emphasise, that it wasn't enough to just be a large institution, albeit Qatar National Bank are certainly the largest bank in Qatar. But in terms of growth in assets, liabilities, income, net profit, and return on assets, they certainly led the way over the last 12
perhaps
months.
no coincidence that the banker of the year actually came from there as well.
Indeed,
Exactly.
Ali Sharif Al-Ahmadi.
Who's the group CEO?
He's the group CEO of Qatar National Bank. I'd like to put this in perspective again. I don't think people realise, because we can sit in this region and think it's a young industry, which it is. Banking and finance in the region is a young industry. A lot of banks haven't been around very long. In fact, this was our 11th Bank of Middle East Industry Awards. We're actually older. The magazine is actually older than quite a lot of the banks we cover. But it's still a big industry. Total assets controlled by the top 100 banks in the 8 countries we cover, $1.4 trillion. That's a huge amount of money. This is an impressive industry, and I think the way it performs when it gets things right is impressive as well.
Now, okay, let's move on to the best banks and fastest growing banks in each country that you've gone through, starting obviously with the UAE. The best bank in the UAE, please.
National Bank of Abu Dhabi were found to be the best bank in the UAE.
What was outstanding about them?
Robin?
Well, they second place in terms of total assets, total liabilities and total income. Best performer as far as net attributable income is concerned. Fastest growing bank in the UAE was Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank, and that is a fast growing bank. And it's not just in terms of financials. If you look at what's happening at Adib, they've gone from, I think, 50 branches 2 years ago now to 66. They'll have 76 branches by the end of this year. Their chief executive, Tirad Mahmoud, who I was speaking to a couple of days ago, firmly, utterly convinced that Islamic banking will be 50% of the banking business in the region within the next 10 years. And the way he's travelling and the way his bank's travelling, they're on the way to that.
Now, obviously, Qatar National Bank, QNB, would have won the best bank in Qatar on account of it's the best bank in the Middle East, according to the awards. Talk us through Saudi, the other major market here.
The big market, Saudi Arabia. And going back to what I was saying about quoted and unquoted banks, the best bank in Saudi Arabia, an unquoted institution, also happens to be the biggest bank there, National Commercial Bank.
In Jeddah.
And as I say, it is the biggest bank there, $75.3 billion in total assets. The fastest growing bank in Saudi Arabia, Bank Al Bilad, which is actually not a very big institution.
It must be relatively new as well.
No, it's not that new. They've been around for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
It's an Islamic institution. They were top in 3 out of 5 of our categories, second in the other 2, and again, it's an Islamic institution doing something seriously right, expanding rapidly, taking market share, building a business.
So the awards, obviously, greater rigour, transparency applied this year, and I presume the same next year as well.
I think we'll just continue to add to the process and try and build the best possible awards that we can offer in the region, to be honest.
Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for coming in to discuss the Banker Middle East 2011 awards. Adam Broom, Chief Operating Officer, CPI Financial, and Robin Amlo, Managing Editor of CPI Financial, the company that publishes Banker Middle East. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.